I'm going to go ahead and pull my clutch plates out of 1190. Since I bought the bike, I've noticed that something's not right with the clutch. It's a hydraulic clutch, so I've flushed that a few times, and I'm still noticing that the clutch slightly catches even with it pressed in. So I'm thinking those clutch plates aren't fully releasing. My suspicion is the bike's been sitting so long before I purchased it. I mean, the guy only had 600 miles on it in the last, 6.5 years. There might be some gunk in between those plates, and they're not fully releasing. They're catching still. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those and see what they look like. Let's get into it. On the right side of the bike, I have it down to its left. This is so we don't lose any oil. I'm hoping I got it far enough over. Here's your clutch basket. Here's the cover for it. LC8 KTM. I believe this will cover a few models, but this is specifically a 2015 1190. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws, T30 or a 8mm socket. So let's go ahead and remove those. I'm gonna use a drill to get them out, but definitely have to put them back in. Do not want to over tighten these or strip the tread. Ooh, long one on top. These are slightly different sizes. Okay, I see what's going on. So if we look on the cover here, the cover gets larger with distance. Small ones on the bottom, and they increase in length going to the top of this cover. All of these are different lengths. Okay, no oil spillage, so that is good. Put this off to the side. We have 3 bolts holding all the plates in, so we're going to remove those. 10mm socket. You can see those clutch springs pushing out behind. Not much pressure left in those springs, so don't worry about this outside plate popping out on you. Just a light torque when you're putting these back in, about 10 pounds of torque. I gotta double check that, but it's very light. I'm gonna get this all spread out on the tray. We're gonna inspect it. Okay, so let's see what we got going on. Use a flathead. Get this outer piece out. There we go. Now we're looking at the first friction plate. So it's going to go friction plate, steel plate, friction plate, all the way till you get to the end. So we're going to start pulling these out one by one. And just on the first friction plate that I'm pulling out, it has a tiny bit of damage. Let's go ahead and pull all these and inspect them one by one. Not really looking forward to buying a new set if I have to, but I doubt it. I'm just going to give them a good cleaning. It's about $500 for this bike, or at least that's what I found. The ones further back are becoming more and more difficult to get out, especially with the bike laid to its side. I was hoping I could find some magnets small enough. If I have 2 of these small ones, I could probably pop these magnets down and pull them out, but I do not. So FYI, you got some magnets, try that. Catch the plates and pull them out that way. Okay, so all the friction and steel plates out. Here's a look inside the basket. So I already saw a few imperfections on that first friction plate. I'm gonna hold these like so. And just spin each plate, just look for imperfections. And with this first one, I don't know how I can show it on camera. See if it can focus. A little bit of damage on the friction plate right there. I might just try to sand that down and clean it up. It's not terrible. I'm gonna go over each one, just look everything over, see if I can spot anything out of the ordinary. I was considering getting a Recluse clutch on the 1190, but if I spend any more money on this bike, I'm gonna end up keeping it. So if you're gonna do this and you're not replacing the whole kit, the clutch kit, or if you are, so I noticed on this bike the last friction plate is thin, steel plate, And then the rest of these friction plates are a little bit larger in between, but as we go to the front of the basket, once again we have a thin friction plate, a thin steel plate, and then another thin friction plate. So if you do this, just keep them all in order. If you're taking them out, just send them one by one. Don't mix them up. Much easier later on when you're putting everything back together. So I went ahead and went through all the steel plates, the friction plates, cleaned them off, let them dry off. Before I threw them back in the bike, I oiled them down with some of the oil that's already in the bike. As you can see, I have everything back together here. Let me give you a visual on how the clutch basket works. I did torque these back down to, it was like 8.9, so like 10 foot-pounds of torque. I'm gonna press in the clutch. See how that lifts up? So it gives space between those friction plates and steel plates. Once you release, everything catches and your bike goes. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the cover on. One last thing to do, I didn't show you in the beginning of the video, but you will have to loosen your brake lever. I just used a bungee cord, pulled it down and threw it up on the side pannier rack to hold it down so I can get to this cover. Not a difficult process. Take your time with it. If you're throwing in new ones, remember soak those in oil before putting them back on. This is going to be a very similar process, if not exactly the same, on the 1290s, possibly the 990s. I'll catch you guys in the next one.